lectures have already been taken place, and in today's lecture, present Honorable Chancellor Mehboob Haq, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Hajarika, Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. R.K. Sharma, Registrar Mehbin Rahman, other faculty members, all the students of USTM, participants in this very important lecture, and also those who are interested in higher education. I must first of all congratulate Mr. Mehboob Haq, who has been a visionary leader in Northeast and who has started such kind of lecture series with eminent persons like Dr. Ved Prakash ji, former chairman of UGC, Professor Rao, Professor Deshmukh, former Vice Chancellor of Bombay University, Vice Chancellor of Mizoram University, former Chairman of AICT, and others, to cover various areas of higher education. When we talk about higher education, then we find that in India, there are nearly 935 recognized universities by the UGC by February 2020, and nearly 52,000 colleges in higher education. In these colleges, if we see, there are about 22% colleges which have less than 100 students, just imagine, and only 4% colleges which have more than 3,000 colleges. There are different status of universities, as well as along with the universities, National Institute of Importance like IITs, NITs, IESR, etc. We have different types of universities: central universities, state universities, deemed universities, private universities, and these National Institute of Importance. So we have wide range of higher education where nearly 3.76 crore students are enrolled of the age group of 18 to 23 years, in which about 15 lakhs teachers are working all over our country in different universities and colleges. And out of this total 3.76 crore students, nearly 54% are male and 46% female. So still female number is less than the male. If we see the type of students getting education, we find 40% students are registered in arts, humanities, social science subjects, 16% in sciences, 15.6% in engineering and technology, and 14% in commerce. That means most of these students belong to arts, social science, and humanities streams. We have less number in technology, science, and commerce. If we see the higher education in Northeast, we find that the national GER, which is 26.3% now, almost average of Northeast is having similar one. But in Assam and Nagaland, the GER is much less, about 18 and 19% respectively. So we have more scope for higher education in Assam and Nagaland, whereas some of the states like Manipur, they have above the national average. There are total 63 universities in Northeast, 10 central universities. Manipur is having 2, Assam is having 2, and rest of the states 1 each. Then state universities, 10 National Institute of Importance, comprising IITs, NITs, IIM, but still all the states do not have IIM or IITs, so there is a scope for further technology. And there are about 28 private universities, so total 63 universities out of 935 which are there in other parts of the country. So when we have such large number of students in the world, it makes nearly 1/5 of the total population in higher education in the world. That indicates that the manpower which will be available to the world, 1 person out of 5 will be from India. So that is why we say India is a youth country where nearly 65 crores students or youths are available. So now this is the condition. This also poses challenges to the higher educational institutes, that if we can provide quality education and can create the manpower in this globalized world, because our each student is a globalized citizen now because of the opening of we are signatories of WTO, and now no more geographical boundaries. The whole world is available for the opportunities. Now let us see what has happened in last 5-6 months. We all know that corona pandemic has created a total change in our higher education system, because more than 1 crore 10 lakhs people have been infected all over the world, and more than 5 lakhs 10,000 people have died due to this corona. A corona disease which was initially came to human being from bat in China, and from Wuhan it has spread to more than 212 countries all over the world. And it has been seen now that most of the developed countries, they are having more infection than Asian countries. In India also, if we see that most of the cities like Bombay, Delhi, they are having more infection compared to the rural areas and compared to Northeast also. In Northeast, in general, the infection level is less. However, recently in Assam, the infection has been enhanced due to the return of migratory laborers. So we find that this disease is not able to be controlled till we get a vaccine. And you have seen India has announced the second stage of the testing of vaccine, and like other countries are also at the stage. UK is in third stage, but some other herbal medicine systems are also coming. Now I am telling all these things because corona pandemic has created fear in the mind of students, in the mind of teachers. It has created psychological pressure that what will happen, because physical mode of education is suspended, Examinations are also not taking place. UGC has issued guidelines for first year and second year students, but what will happen to the final student is still dilemma exists. Of course, in few days, a decision will come for final students also. But this has created uncertainty in the mind of students, especially in such a large number of students. This students number is much more than the total population of more than 60 countries of the world, more than population of many states of India. You can just imagine that such a large population of India, even those students who have gone to pursue their higher education abroad in USA, Australia, Canada, UK, and other European countries, they are in dilemma. They are under pressure. They want to return to India, and all of them are not able to return to India. So such a problem or a pressure due to corona pandemic has been created. But it has also given now a challenge to the universities. And those universities which can respond to this challenge must have three characters. First is agility. That means immediately to change ourselves, to bring communication among our staff, faculty, and students, to look into the other availability of jobs, our other availability of opportunities, both in terms of developing our skill, developing our new areas of higher education, as well as creating a new toolbox. So this is very important that we immediately go with this new challenge after COVID-19. The another one is the transformation of the technology. Because of the corona, our traditional mode of the teaching is no more sustainable. So we have to not only adopt technology, but transformation of technology, particularly the digital technology, in creating holistic, creative possibilities and capabilities and opportunities in terms of e-content preparation and video lectures and other things. These opportunities can be explored through clouds, big data analysis, which is already available, using artificial technology, IoT, and other emerging areas. So that means a new trend which is there now in customers due to this corona fears has to be studied, and this customers' behavior has to be used for creating facilities in the universities. Then how to prepare our manpower to develop the culture of work from home, which will maintain the social distancing, also save transport, time, cost, and also reduce pollution, which has been also seen that the pollution has been reduced due to the lockdown. Also, a number of digital technology in payment, healthcare, cloud computing, and also in cyber security, because the use of this has been enormous. So cyber security has been very important. And recently, due to ban of the app 59 app of China, this is a new area of opportunity for our computer science and technology students to develop apps for social communication and also to bring awareness and also to spread their strength in the areas of the learning. Now, the most powerful emergence of this new area is e-commerce, a new opportunity for the commerce students. I am telling these areas so that we can think which are the areas for our collaboration, future collaboration. So we have to first of all identify the areas, then only we can think of collaboration and with whom and all these things. So that is why in short I am trying to just narrate those areas which have now been available or new opportunities which are available due to Corona. Then opportunities in insurance, because a fear in the mind of pupil has brought a fear of their family, and also it has brought new opportunity to have more demand, larger demand for the insurance industry. Another area is the health, because such diseases are taking place, because if you see earlier to Corona also H1N1 in 2009 and before that 2003 H5N1 and others. These are also emerging due to the pressure or stress on these viruses carried out by international and national institutes. And by mistake, some of these viruses are out of their labs, which becomes visible after certain area, after certain time, because natural evolution takes long time, but the evolution or the change in the genetic makeup by human beings in laboratories create a new threats of life. And that is why America and other some of the countries, they are still having doubt that the corona has not come from bat and human to human, but it has been spread from lab purposely to bring down the economy of the countries, because it has brought down the economy. People have lost the jobs, the industries are closed down, and study by Dell says that now in coming years, the jobs will be totally changed. The social behavior will be totally changed. And we have to create those higher education areas which can meet these demands. And the economic growth, if we go to the World Bank survey, the China will have now 1.2% and India will have 1.8%, which was earlier around 7%. So you can just imagine this will be the pressure on the mind of our new generation. All this pressure has created a new fear, and that is why if we see the CMIE report, it says that in non-agriculture areas, 72% people are involved in construction industries, which is almost jeopardized. That is why in such a large number, the migrated population is returning to different states. More than 4 crores have already returned from different states. And 14% in manufacturing, 12% in services like their restaurant, hotels, and other service transport, and self-employed trades, etc. So now, when the migrated laborers have been returning more number in Assam, educational institutes have new opportunity. The opportunity is to do the skill mapping. Those who are returning from other states, if we can do from the university side their skill mapping in collaboration with the state government, that will help us to design our courses for unskilled, semi-skilled and skilled labor. As well as it will help for the government, university can give suggestion to the government that what kind of the new areas should be developed. So the Prime Minister, our Honorable Modi ji, who has announced 20 lakhs of the 90 areas, this can be utilized in this way because 3.7 thousand crores have been allocated for the higher education. So institutes can now explore these areas of collaboration. Now, let us see when we talk our collaboration and we discuss more on collaboration because of this corona and also particularly in response to the Northeast. So in general term, the collaboration, when we say, when both work together through ideas or sharing these ideas to achieve a goal which cannot be achieved individually. And this collaboration may be in physical form or maybe in virtual form. So these modes of collaboration may be through online or messaging, Skype, or if institutional location is nearby, in physical form. So the collaboration can be between individuals of the same department. It can be between different departments of the institutes, or now it can be outside the university. In between two universities, in between university and government, in between the companies and the universities, in between NGOs and universities, and in between industry and university. So depending on our objective, the collaboration can take place. If we see the history of collaboration, it was after independence available in the form of exchange, support through different schemes. Like if we see in 60s, PL 480 scheme was available from USA. USA also helped in establishing our IITs and first agriculture university at GB Pantnagar. Also, other government, European government, the Japan government, Russian government, but these were the at government level, government to government, not from university to university through this only. So that is why different bodies like DST, DBT, and others, MHRD, they were involved. INSA, Indian National Science Academy, at different types of collaboration. And this collaboration was to help the teachers for short-term, long-term training, upgradation of knowledge, even Commonwealth countries having Commonwealth scholarships. Lal Bahadur Shastri, Canadian Shastri, And like this, there are many such kind of things. But when in last 1 decade, after the suggestion of National Knowledge Commission, the need of higher education to give a boost for the development and role of higher education in economy of the country, they suggested that minimum 1500 universities are required. We are still having much lesser than this. That is why every year there is an increase in the universities and colleges. And still there is scope, because government plans by 2020 at least to have 32% our youths in higher education to come in the category of developed country. If we compare to US, Canada, they have more than 85% people in higher education, and China more than 46%, our next immediate neighbor. So there is so much scope for increase. Now, looking into this, UGC MHRD gave this to UGC to formulate the regulation so that more collaboration between the universities can take place. So UGC organized certain visits of central universities vice chancellors to European countries, to Canada, to US, to explore the collaboration with those universities. But one has to, first of all, going into collaboration, should see its own strength. And UGC brought out a regulation for the universities to have collaboration with foreign universities to launch dual degree, to launch part-time degrees, also to have the, collaboration in research, joint project, etc. A number of areas, consultancy, patenting of license, and other things, joint lectures, and creating new knowledge for economy. All those things were the areas which were given by the UGC regulation 2012. So under this, they also said any university want to have collaboration must be accredited one, and it should have minimum B grade. So now we have many universities with A grade, and a number of universities have started collaboration with foreign universities, particularly with US, Canada, Australia, and some of the universities, they are having collaboration to support the students of African countries. So that means the collaboration has been increased tremendously. US also has, which has been a major share player in the collaboration, particularly through its US IEF, US Indian Education Foundation, in different areas like research, joint project, bilateral education, training of the teachers, and also research scholars to provide scholarship and fellowships. So now, after the fast growth of Indian higher education, the India has also entered a new area of internationalization of higher education. Earlier, we were not thinking in this area. We were having some students from foreign countries, like from some Asian countries, Bangladesh, Nepal, some African countries, but very few from developed countries. So in this way, the number of students from foreign countries was very less. It was due to various reasons. The few reasons like the infrastructure available to the foreign students, the quality of infrastructure like hostels or the twin type of the accommodation, then the cultural aspects and the quality of higher education, training, and also flexibility in higher education, less number of short skill oriented courses. These were some of the limitations for India to attract the foreign students. But now in last few years, after 2012-13, a number of changes in higher education has taken place. In new education policy also, these have been given due importance, and collaboration and technology, particularly online education, has been given due importance, and up to 25 to 40% education can be have online, and with other countries or like that, this scope is there. So that means in coming years we have more scope for the collaboration. There was another reason for having less collaboration, that as I told that earlier, our most of the collaboration was from government to government exchange programs. So most of the decisions were taken at government level. So there were so much tedious rules, regulation at bureaucratic level. It was very difficult for the universities to go through the permanent or long-term collaboration with these countries. That is why most of the collaboration was confined to the universities like JNU, Delhi, or Hyderabad, such universities. But so far, such long-term collaboration was not coming to Northeast at government level. Only collaboration at individual level in terms of fellowship, in terms of few research project by initiative of the faculty members was coming up. So many our students, teachers, media persons have taken advantage of this opportunity. But now in new regulation of UGC, we can explore more collaboration with those universities. Also the industry. But first of all, we have to also identify our strength. What I feel, our first strength is the traditional knowledge which is available in Northeast in certain areas. How to bring under the quality conversion and making it marketable or making business from it. Because if we see the ultimate, our aim of higher education, we find a pyramid where strong base is of basic sciences or basic social science type of courses. Then a smaller one box goes above it in applied kind of applied sciences. Then further smaller engineering, further smaller on technology, then further is smaller on incubator and startup, and then further smaller on business, and ultimately the market. So far we were not giving much importance of higher education role in creating the business. We were only concentrating the higher education in knowledge creation. Means the foundation or the strongest base. And that is one of the reason that our most of the graduates, what corporate and industry says, only 10 to 15% are employable, because we have not given them such training of how to apply their knowledge which they have been learning. So there is a need for this change also, and for this change also we need collaboration, because now if we see the LOCF which has come last year, Learning Outcome Curriculum Framework from the UGC, it allows us 20% of the courses can be taken from other institutes, either online or offline, but credit transfer system should be there. So there is a need to change our ordinance for this credit transfer. Now UGC and MHRD, who have recently allowed 100 universities to launch the online courses, there is scope for change and flexibility in higher education, and to give opportunity to our students to choose the courses of their choices. For example, if an engineering student wants to choose a course on music, and this course may not be available in our college or university, so he or she can go to the music university, select the course. So what will happen? Then he or she can combine that music knowledge in engineering, create a new type of music, and this will create a new business. That means we can only create new areas of higher education by multidisciplinary approach, and also always thinking that what are our areas where we can develop ourselves and we can create value to our learning. So that means just here to add that the role of teacher is also changing due to COVID-19, because so far the role of teacher was to give knowledge. He used to prepare nicely his lecture and deliver in the classroom, but he never thought that in the classroom there are some students who are not getting the grasp of this knowledge, and they are thinking what benefit of this knowledge, because they can have access to this knowledge online now. So his role is now facilitator, to see each students, reach each students according to his or her choice, and provide him and her that skill through videos, then assigning the assignment in that university of his choice or industry or internship of his choice. So that means the interactive kind, or we can say the mentoring of the students role will be for a teacher. And then the teacher also has to work into this, and in the rapid growth in demand, and also the new areas of higher education which are emerging, we have a lot of scope. Now let us see, after the UGC 2012 regulation, what kind of collaboration have been coming in India with other universities in other parts of the country. First is franchising. In this, the foreign universities, they authorize universities of India to provide all or in part of their courses in India. towards qualification to be awarded by the foreign country universities. So it has advantage to the students that they get foreign degree, which is in more demand when they go for the placement in India and at Indian cost, and also it helps in staying cost in foreign country, reduce this cost. So such kind of the collaboration exists in Bangalore in many universities, especially Bangalore Management Academy for Management and the Edith Crown University of Australia. The another area is training. Training is different area for collaboration with foreign universities. In this program, students take early part of their education in India. Say, for example, if it is a 5 years integrated course of engineering or any others, so he or she can do diploma in India, 3 years, and some part of this course can be done in foreign countries to get foreign degree. The degree will be foreign degree, and this will also reduce the cost and time in staying and expenditure, the fees, etc. of foreign country. Because we know the cost of the higher education in foreign countries is much more than in India. If we simply give one example, our cost in government universities, for example, in engineering course, if it is around 60-70,000, and in private universities, if it is 2-3 lakhs, in foreign countries is 30 to 40 lakhs. And medical, particularly, it is much more. Though some of the countries like Russia, Kazakhstan, they are offering low fees compared to US, UK, and Australia. But still, it is much more than India. But still, so many students are going abroad because the foreign degree is in much demand, first thing. Second thing, that some of these degrees are not available in India because we are still having a regulatory body, UGC, which allows only those degrees to be operated in India recognized by UGC and AICT and Bar Council and MCI. So many, more than 10 regulatory bodies are there. We have to go for these degrees as per these regulatory bodies. So this regulation also bring a pressure and limit our thinking to have degrees in new areas. So many students who can afford, who can also take loan and repay loan, they go abroad, they go to private university. This such kind of collaboration is taking place. So these are the regions which also have economic divide among our people, which also create technological divide, and the objective of the government of access, equity, and quality is also not fulfilled. On the other hand, our universities in India, they are fulfilling the priorities of the government. That means having access, having the equity, opportunity to all communities, especially to the marginalized, the poor community. Because the higher education analysis also indicates that there is a need for inclusiveness in higher education. If we analyze and see the analysis done by the government of India, MHRD, we find 33% population from OBC, nearly 34% students from general category, only 5.7% people from Muslim minority, and nearly 2% population from other minor communities. SCs are having only 14, nearly 13 point something, and STs are still less, around 6%. So you can see in Northeast, there is so much scope for these communities which are marginalized, but to provide them quality education, to provide them opportunity having foreign degree with different areas, emerging areas, and once they get such kind of quality education, they can contribute in the development of Northeast, the sustainability of the higher education, and continuously improving the quality of education. The third area of collaboration is program articulation. Not like twinning, an articulation agreement does not require the pertaining institution which is taking part to jointly implement an academic program. Students can study the course of the first few years at the Indian universities, and also these universities which are recognized by foreign universities, and earn the credit. When they earn the credit in advanced standing in specified courses, the qualification may be awarded by the foreign universities. So you can see articulation is giving chance to have the total course in Indian university, but these courses credit should be recognized to maintain the quality. Such kind of the collaboration exists with many universities, especially I am giving the example of the private universities, Dr. D.Y. Patil University, for the Bachelor of Exercise Science program. You see, this is the degree which is not available in India. Exercise Science degree. So this is a new emerging areas. Such kind of degrees are required in many areas in policy making and others areas. So we have such kind of the areas. Another one is to enhance student exchange. Here, students complete a semester or two in India and one or two in foreign countries. In the universities, this has been also recognized by German. The DAD can have. Japan also, Indo-Japanese, we can have. Only thing we have to learn the language Dutch and Japanese, because they give the modules of learning of these two languages so that the student can speak and understand the language. Now this overseas prior arrangement which earn credit towards their qualification, which can award the degree. In some cases, exchange is mutual. That means students can travel from both the countries. And this is particularly viable for our neighboring Asian countries, where we can develop our image in certain areas and attract the students from neighboring countries who can spend 1 or 2 semesters in India, and similarly our students can go and come. So these are the collaboration areas I am telling which are allowed by UGC regulation, because I am not telling about those. Now for this kind of the program, many IIM of India have signed memorandum of understanding with foreign countries. Particularly IIM Bangalore, IIM Kozhikode, Kolkata, Lucknow, and National Institute of Fashion Technology. These are some of these even government institutes which have signed the memorandum. And as I said that UG sent the team of the government vice chancellors and directors. This is the result of that. Then it helps in the recruitment of such students because they visit the foreign countries for their project of 1 or 2 semesters. Now, when we talk about collaboration, we also have certain challenges. The first challenge is how to select a foreign universities which have quality of education. So first criteria is quality of higher education in collaboration. So this can be because there are many universities in foreign countries, even in USA, Australia, which are running in few buildings, small buildings, launching small courses. So we have to be careful that those universities which are established universities, which are at least having their credential. For this also, the UGC has recently come out that we should give preference to those universities which are up to 500 in quality in world ranking, whether it is by Shanghai ranking or Times ranking or QS ranking, but at least up to 500 ranking of these universities. So this will take care of the quality of collaboration to go for this. The another one is that this attention which is required for the selection of collaboration, a quality assurance cell is needed. The university should create quality assurance cell and also see that time to time this program has to be assessed, that what is the output of this program, how many are getting job compared to our traditional program, and then it can be continued. So this is good to safeguard the students' interest as well as to have the sustainability in quality of higher education through collaboration. Then inequity. Since international collaboration or education is costly, expensive, this also needs to be supported. How either institute or government can support. There are a number of NGOs, Tata supports some of this. So we can explore the support from industry, particularly under CSR, which has the 2% amount of under this corporate security social responsibility. Most of the educational institutes are not able to utilize this fund, so this can also be used. Another one is challenge is to find out the priorities. As I said, the institute has to find out its own strength of particular courses. And as I said, that one could be traditional knowledge, but not of general listing of this traditional knowledge. I will give one example here. Ranchhod Das was a person from Gujarat, Rajasthan border, but he had the knowledge to identify the route in desert. He was having for his livelihood goats and other things. So if camel passes through this desert, he can tell how many persons were sitting on that camel, which direction it has gone, and how far it has gone, only by seeing the footprint. So during 1965 war with Pakistan, Pakistan occupied our certain area in Rann of Kutch. Our hundreds of Jawans were killed. 1,200 army personnel of Pakistan were hiding in that area. So General Manik Shah came to know about this person. They call locally Pagi. So they hired this person, and he could trace the location of these 1,200 persons in night, informed the army which was taking more time to reach, shortened 12 hours to reach, and ultimately won the war. Similarly, after 65 war, the army hired this person, and till 1970 again in Bangladesh war, they took to find out the location of this knowledge. So we have to find out such persons only who are having this deep knowledge, so that this deep knowledge can be converted into IPR, patented, and ultimately business. Another example of need of the industry, if we are thinking of having collaboration with industry, I give example of Rahul Bajaj. Rahul Bajaj produces, manufacture the scooty, and he wanted to hire the personals who can bring change in the design of engine, making it more efficient. So they went to English speaking universities in South. They wanted to pay any amount for this, but they could not find. Then they went to some of the institutes to northern India, but they were unable to speak fluently English. Sorry. So they hired few because they could see the potential that they could do. So with these hired personals, they modified their engine, and China, which was occupying our market of the scooty and scooter bikes, was sending its bike in pack. After packing, it was sold in market. It was much cheaper. People were going for it. But after 2 years, 3 years, the bike and this was giving this useless. Bajaj one was slightly costly, but having better efficiency and long lasting. So slowly it replaced the Chinese scooty. And now Bajaj is having maximum share of business in foreign countries, in African countries, in Asian countries, even in some of the developed countries. So this is the area where we create a skilled person, and this skilling, we can have collaboration with industry, so that industry people can come. Our people can also, students can go there to upgrade the practical knowledge. So this kind of collaboration at industry level can also be there. So priorities of this area for collaboration between two universities rather than between government, we should avoid, so that interest of the universities or the departments are served its priority so that teachers or faculty can also develop its future for better growth, for better salary, and also serve the interest of the students, and also address the priority of the university as well as contribute in the priority of the country. Another one is practicalization. The practical difficulties, the difference in standard, as I told, in infrastructure. Our infrastructure, especially in India, is not meeting the quality as it is available in foreign countries. So some of the infrastructure should be available of international standard. The toilets, the security, also the availability of the internet and other facilities, the food, international food availability, so that it does not make problem for the students from foreign countries to stay. Now, new priorities we can think which are coming up due to COVID-19, as I have told some of them earlier. These are also coming due to the shortage of qualified personals in science, technology, and mathematics in foreign developed countries, Western countries. Western countries need the manpower because there is a shortfall in science, technology, mathematics. So STEM, this is the area of collaboration. So how to bridge this shortfall? So we need to diversify our international student base so that they can get more attractive salary. They can also join researches into higher degree programs in these countries and create new knowledge through joint research project and partnership, and also establishing other collaboration. This will help to create innovation and new knowledge and play an important role in knowledge economy. So we can say our education 4 can become relevant to industry 4, which is now the area. Then we have to also see the enhancement of our reputation. We have to maintain our reputation through maintaining quality, as well as select the reputation, and through the talented students sending for exchange program, selecting those departments which have established good publication and established or developed the specific areas in those emerging areas of thrust which are of global importance. Therefore, we can provide the global opportunity to our students. Now, if we see for the Northeast, the opportunities or priorities, we find that now India is thinking to emerge as economic power in the near future. And in this emergence, Northeast has to play an important role. So there will be huge opportunities, but with responsibilities to have expansion, excellence, and inclusion in higher education, with setting up of internal regulatory center or a small body, so that collaboration can be with great care and meet the need of new education policy. So for creating new knowledge with profit orientation, more students need to be added with diversity, because Northeast students, they have a very technological mindset. They can excel in that creativity, in technology oriented areas. We have to utilize this workforce and harness the strength also of the rich culture of Northeast, so that the need of socially, culturally of any item can be worked out, and then the future development of areas can be put, especially as I told, the science, technology, engineering and math, which is declining in Western countries. So these are the areas which need to be developed. University can now regenerate these departments with special funding, creating more collaboration, especially in those instrumentation which are not there at national level and international level. Create a good teaching training. Teachers can be trained to have the online and technology oriented using LMS, learning management system. This each university must have this system so that it will improve the teaching methodology or pedagogy. University also need to have quality monitoring of these professional courses, particularly the legal related management, and also have stringent accreditation, especially of these courses, because there are many colleges which are unable to run quality management education. So we have to have the stringent accreditation in these subjects. We have to also increase the quality of research scholars by publishing good quality impact journals. UGC says minimum 1 or 2 papers should be published, but the university can regulate this, that this publication of papers should be in minimum 1 impact journal, so that this can improve the quality of thesis, reduce the plagiarism, whatever allowed by ARCID UGC platform. Even we need not to go up to that level, we can come down. So collaboration with the foreign universities need to be planned with our strength, and also improvement of the infrastructure is needed. And this can also start with the access to the MOOCs courses, which are available to the students by having DTH in the university, and providing the flexibility to the students and also teachers through ARPIT to improve their quality as well as the skills. This will have a sustainable collaboration, mutually productive in knowledge, and also shape the future of the institute and contribute in the knowledge economy. I think Haksab is looking the watch. 1 hour time, whatever was there is allotted. I will just conclude that to have the collaboration, we must have the audit, academic audit, which can be carried out to evaluate collaboration programs frequently, which is already in operation, and also, as I said, working out of the areas before that, and transnational arrangements for qualitative difference are also need to be maintained, so that the degree recognition can also be done by the AIU and provide exposure of academic scholars. This will help in the development of sustainable capacity for caliber research in thrust areas of our university, and also contribute in the knowledge economy, which are initiated by the establishing a center for excellence in certain specified areas only. Other areas cannot all emerge as the center of, and therefore we can provide better career prospects, and in this way collaboration can help in enhancement of quality and sustainability. So with this, I am sure that since USTM is one of the university who is a leading university in Northeast, and it has identified the right areas from the very beginning. Science, technology, and management is the thrust of this university. This thrust has been identified by the country now in new education policy. So you can just think you are much far ahead of the nation, what nation thinks today. You have already thought of this. Now you should take the lead in establishing the collaboration, starting with national institutes, with the national facilities which are available to our country in India, and then go to neighboring countries so that they can take advantage of this distance as well as the culture of Northeast, and then go to other Western countries. So in phased manner, we have to work out the collaboration. I have been given this chance to speak with along about 6 earlier the speakers, the renowned speakers who have been selected by Wahbul Haq. Is very critical in selecting such a dignitaries. So I congratulate all those who are working, associated, and also want to help Northeast universities, government support, NGOs, so that our Northeast emerges one of the center of excellence in higher education, not only in knowledge giving, but knowledge generation for the economic development and making Northeast more sustainable. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
I think we did not lose much time in the beginning.
No, sir, no, sir, absolutely.
Technology create problem. It also did not create any interference during our lecture.
Yes, sir.
So
yes,
thank you very much. It also shows you have strong technology in the university, which will never have any interruption. So these are some of the criteria which are needed for the collaboration. So thank you very much for giving me.
Sir, actually, like, you know, I would, it was a very interesting and very thought-provoking, like, you know, session, especially like, you know, collaborative strategies, like, you know, our Honorable Chancellor, sir, has always been from the very beginning, has talked about collaborations. And as you said, we must go further also. This, like the brainchild of Honorable Chancellor, sir, I think I will request him only to speak, is the CN University Council, which is a collaboration of universities of Northeast India, along with the Southeast Asian nations, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan. So, like, I would like to request Honorable Chancellor, sir, to give his insight in this like collaborative studies, strategies, mainly of like, you know, how universities play a very strong role. So,
Namaskar and good afternoon to everyone. Our speaker of the day, Professor G.D. Sharma sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Atal Bihari Vajpayee University. And I must tell all the participants that sir is not only the Vice Chancellor of Atal Bihari Vajpayee University, he is the mentor of many institutions, and he worked as a successful Vice Chancellor for 6 years as a founder Vice Chancellor of Nagaland Central University. He was the Pro Vice Chancellor of Assam University, Silchar for many, many years. And his personality is known to the country as a good mentor, as a good father for the various institutions. Sir is associated from the very beginning for the entire development of ERDF institutions when we started Central IT College and Regional College of Higher Education. And although he is in Chhattisgarh, but we feel that he is always near to us all the time. And any such kind of new things, new ideas, always you make us informative. And I was just watching the views and comments from participants of today's lecture session. They are giving very, very nice comments on your lecture. And today I have spent my entire time to listen your lecture, sir. It was very thought-provoking and is a visionary kind of information that I think all the academicians today attended this particular session, they will get benefit out of it. I must welcome all the participants. Till it is 340 plus participants. I think is huge number in a such kind of platform, in a Zoom platform. I have seen maximum 50, 60, 70, 80 people join. As a large number joined, I congratulate and welcome all of you that you have joined this very fruitful session delivered by Professor G.D. Sharma sir. I am very much confident that sir, very soon he will be retiring, but person like you will never retire until unless that you are departing from this earth. You are a very valuable person, and I am very confident that you will be coming back to the northeastern region. You always consider northeast your home place.
Yes,
so
certainly.
Entire talents, entire evolution you have and contribution you have done in the northeastern part of the country. And today in your speech, you have always spoken about, after every 5 minutes you are speaking about and connecting northeastern region and for the educational concern of the northeastern states. We want to see you at USTM in the coming days, and also a greater kind of contribution you can make for the northeastern region. We are still lagging behind in different aspects. We don't have any kind of integrated approach. We don't have any collaborative approach. It's a vision of the government of India that we have a kind of must have an association with the ASEAN countries, but practically nothing is happening in the field of education. So it was our thought and idea that we must come up with the CNBINE Council, Southeast Asian nations, and Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. And we are being a small university, we cannot alone do all these things. We need association of many government institutions in this regard. And for the information for all the participants, that nearly 20 plus vice chancellors and NIT directors, we have visited Sylhet, Shahjalal University of Science and Technology, and there was a first international convention of vice chancellors. So we have done some of the steps, but we have to do a lot in terms of what Professor G.D. Sharma has suggested in terms of collaborating. For the northeastern states, it will be more viable and more feasible and more kind of practical if we associate with the Southeast Asian nations and we can connect the university in this regard. Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful. That is very useful, because all participants are there giving their comments on your lecture, and certainly you have to spend sufficient time on preparing all such kind of data. And I hope from your knowledge, northeastern states will be getting more benefit in the coming days. And I also welcome Dr. Bibas Dev sir. Personally, I requested him to must be visible and to be one of the panelists, so that I can connect Professor G.D. Sharma sir and Bibas Dev sir again, because he have worked many years in Assam University. And for your information, that Dr. Bibas Dev sir is one of our mentor in our Borakbali institutions. And I will be more happy if I see the face of Dr. Bibas Dev sir. Please on your video so that I can see both of you in the same screen.
Sir, I think Vikas Dev sir has like some technical problem.
Okay.
We've not been, yes, sir. He was
Anyway,
there, but now.
thank you very much, all the participants. This is a time that we have to gain knowledge through like all such kind of platform, and we must say it is a kind of merit. Let us convert challenge into opportunity. And
Yes.
today, a large number of people we have accessed this such kind of deliberation, which was not possible if online such kind of session was could not organize. So I welcome all the participants from various organizations, various institutions. You are giving very, very nice comments. Once there will be everything normal, today I am inviting all of you that please you visit our small university, you guide us, help us, and cooperate with us. We want to make a USTM a global destination and for this entire ASEAN countries. And for that, I need support and advice from all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, GD Sharma, sir. I would now like to request Dr. Rashmi Borua, our senior professor from USTM, to present the vote of thanks. Dr. Rashmi Borua.
Thank you, Majabin. A very good afternoon to respected Professor GD Sharma, sir, Vice Chancellor of Atul Bihari Vajpayee Vishwavidyalaya, Bilaspur. Mr. Mahbubul Haq, sir, Honorable Chancellor, University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya. Panelists, participants of today's webinar, ladies and gentlemen. In the beginning, I would like to express my profound gratitude to our esteemed speaker of today's webinar lecture, Professor GD Sharma, sir, for sharing his knowledge regarding today's topic. Collaborative strategies in higher education to maintain the quality and sustainability is recognized as one of the biggest societal challenges at this time of global pandemic. It has been observed that higher education institutions have the vision, the knowledge, and the power to lead this transition and to induce the changes towards this new paradigm. Today's resource person, Professor GD Sharma, sir, has explained very well about during and post-COVID academic challenges. He told about the importance of agility, that is our ability to move quickly and easily to cope up the changing scenario, the importance of collaboration and making collaborative strategies with other organizations for better performance, transformation of technology, like gather more information about cloud computing, cybersecurity, online teaching, etc. Sir has also explained very well about the scope of Northeast as long as higher education and collaboration is concerned. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for your very interesting and thought-provoking lecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I would also like to convey my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Chancellor, Mr. M. Haq, sir, without whose support we would not have been able to organize this webinar. In fact, sir keeps telling us the importance of incorporating the quality and sustainability parameters in higher education institutions, not only at the time of COVID-19, but it is always essential. Thank you, sir. We are extremely grateful to Dr. Mridul Hazarika, sir, Vice Chancellor, USTM, Professor Sohail Sabir, sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, USTM, Registrar, Academic Registrar, Deputy Registrar, OSD, USTM, Director, Student Affairs, and the faculty members for giving us the moral support and continuous guidance to conduct this webinar. I'm extremely grateful to all the panelists present here for smooth functioning of the webinar. I am very grateful to all the participants for attending this webinar. I'm very sure that all of us have learned many new things from today's topic. It is true that sustainability and quality in higher education can only be achieved when accepted and integrated in the university culture and by constructing some collaborative strategies. I would also like to say thank you to all the administrative and technical staff for smooth functioning of this webinar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Next
Dr.
lecture,
Rashmi
when it
Borua.
will be held, I think Majabin must announce.
Yes, sir. I would like to announce that the next lecture will be held on the 6th of July, 11 a.m. Professor Liaquat Ali, former Vice Chancellor of Bangladesh University of Health Science, will be presenting the lecture. In the meantime, I would request all the participants to kindly fill up the feedback form. The feedback form is given in the chat box. The feedback forms have to be submitted by tonight, 12 midnight. and e-certificate will be issued to only those participants who had submitted the feedback form. Professor G.D. Sharma sir, thank you so much from core of our heart. आपने हमें बहुत अपना time दिया है, and especially in this situation, we are really thankful. आपने मतलब you had given your valuable inputs and had made a lot of difference.
This is one information, sir. I have suggested the new innovative course. We are designing BSc Immunology program, BSc Immunology 3 years degree program, and certainly I'll also talk with you, sir.
Certainly, because we have emotional relationship, and I always feel that our university should emerge as one of the best university
Yes, sir. Yes.
in the world. And for emerging best university, we have to have the global outlook, global collaboration, because to achieve big things, we need collaboration.
Thank you,
So
sir. Thank you.
that vision is there in Haq Sahab, because he never takes rest. Because of this, he is carrying lot of tension, but still he is working so hard. Only university is in his mind, not even time for the family and other things. No social thing, nothing. Only institutions. That is how he is building institution on the cost of his health and time. Even we have seen, because no funds with him, but strong determination and will. That is what is required to grow and to achieve the things which looks impossible to others. That is how the USTM has created its name in our country. UGC, whenever we go there, they remember that yes, USTM is doing very well in Northeast. So I congratulate Haq Sahab that your this devotion, commitment, and also contributions in this field, particularly to the generation which were not having such kind of education at that time. Now, recently, many universities have come up, but when you started, this facility was not there. Most of the students used to go to other parts of the country, and lot of cultural shock was there for them. So your contributions are enormous for Northeast, and especially to bring the population which was lacking education because they were not having such amount or money and other things. So socially, you are contributing in uplifting them, particularly those communities which are marginalized, which were not having access to higher education. So this is the best contribution from your side. Even your family members expired, but for you, just like Yogi ji, that is some brother or somebody expired, he did not go. He said Raj Dharma is first important. For you, education Dharma is most important. What we have observed, that you give maximum time and concentrate on the growth and development of higher education for the whole population of Northeast. So I must congratulate you, and you are really a great visionary. And in coming years, the USTM now more strongly will emerge as one of the center of excellence in higher education. So thank you very much, and keep like this.
Sir, you are all spirit behind of USTM, sir.
Yes.
With the support and guidance, we are doing well.
Yes.
And you must continue your mentorship, guidance, and blessings in the coming days also to make it one of the global destination. This some of the participants, they are asking for the link to submit the feedback. And in the meantime, I have seen the face of Dr. Bibas Dev, sir.
Good opportunity to see and meet through this technology now. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
বিভাসদেব স্যার আপনার আপনার ওটা আনমিউট করেন, আপনার ভয়েসটা স্যারের সাথে কথা বলেন।
It was a nice discussion. Nice. We have been highly educated for this deliberation. Every one of us has been. Sir,
Thank you.
after a long time, we are seeing each other, and that is through only this.
technology,
So-
online technology. This has created new word.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
See,
Yes.
so great to
Ah.
see it.
yes.
Sir,
So,
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Keep your support on going to the institute because we are
Surely I will help,
Yes.
definitely.
emotionally associated with Mehbul Haq and
Thank
his
you.
family.
Thank you, sir.
Long.
Thank you, sir.
থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you,
So
Namaskar.
with this, we'll
Thank you very
take
much.
your
Bye-bye.
leave and we will see all on the 6th.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.